So thank you so much. I really appreciate this. And I would like to have a conversation with you today, Nancy, about the role of authenticity. I know you've written several books about authenticity and change, as well as what it means for people. Plus, you have your podcasts, and I assume you're still based in Boulder. Is that correct?
I am.
And you've written 7 books.
I have.
And doing very, very well. So the first question I would like to ask when we're talking about change and authenticity is this. So I gathered from your book, the one about jump and your life will appear, that you feel authenticity is important when we're making transitions. So how have you applied authenticity to the changes you have experienced in your life? And how do you define authenticity in this sense?
To me, authenticity is when I'm congruent, when I'm in alignment, when I'm in right relationship with myself. So authenticity has to begin with the willingness to, as I talk about in Jump, admit to myself what I already know. So many of us are living other people's lives. We're living our lives from an other referenced place. We are living from a place of who do I need to be, or what do I need to hide? You know, we all on some level believe we have to hide some part of ourselves in order to be loved and accepted. And yet we also want to be loved and accepted for the truth of who we are, but we can't be loved for the truth of who we are unless we're going to reveal that. And so authenticity to me is actually being in alignment with what is true for me, not someone else's truth or not someone else's expectation or not who I think I should be or how I should be living, but really living in alignment with what's true, because from there I can begin to make the changes. I can make choices and take actions that align with what's true for me.
Okay. So what prompted you to write the book Jump? Because in it, there's a lot of very personal information, and you took a great risk, I feel, because you opened yourself up and you were vulnerable. And of course, people will have all kinds of opinions. And so with divulging that personal information, some people might say, well, other authors would have preferred to speak in the third person or using third parties or subjects to illustrate first person examples. So why was it important for you to share your own story?
I knew that when I was writing Jump, I was writing, a 10-step process for making a major change. And I decided I was going to use my own story as the through line. So the story I use in the book is of my divorce. And the beauty of this is that I have gone on to use my own 10-step process for making other changes. So it's not necessarily that it's only for leaving a marriage, but that was the basis of what was true for me. In terms of sharing my own personal story and my own personal details, when I published that book, I was already on the other side of working through my own shame, my own guilt, my own self-betrayal, my own betrayal in the marriage. So that by the time I wrote the book and by the time the book was published, I like to say there was no Velcro for any external judgment to stick to me. Mm-hmm. I didn't write it in terms of for shock value, I didn't write it as a catharsis. Mm-hmm. I wrote it because, again, coming back to this is what was true for me. And this was part of my process in making choice and change.
And that must have been a very difficult decision to make, because so many people are in similar circumstances going through their life transitions. For example, those of us who are over 50 and say you have had long careers. I had a long career in government service, and now that career is over. So many of us have seen change forced upon us. And so, how would you tell someone, say, for example, how does someone get from where they need to be, especially if they don't know what the end goal is to where they're supposed to be?
Yeah. So, coaching is all about moving from where we are to where we want to be. And I have something I've created called my transformation equation. And this is change equals vision plus choice plus action. So most of us wait for a crisis before we make change. The invitation here is to initiate change without waiting for the crisis. And if we want to make a change, we need to first be able to envision ourselves on the other side of that change. We need to see how our life is going to be different. We need to really connect with our future self. We need to be able to see, we need to be able to know what it feels like to be on the other side of that change. We need to really hold the vision. And when I talk about vision, all I mean is our ideal set of desired circumstances. So it's not some big thing we need to create. In fact, I'm a big proponent of your vision exists within you. It's just likely been tamped down over time because of so many factors. One of them being many of us might have a belief that, I never get what I want, so why bother even wanting? Or I don't want to be needy. And I'm actually going to pride myself on having no needs. But the truth is we all have a vision. It's in us. And so that vision becomes the gravitational force pulling us toward it. Once we have that clarity of vision, then we look at the rest of the equation. The vision becomes the gauge by which we make our choices and take our actions. Every single choice we make, every single action we take does only one of two things: serves our vision or sabotages it. Most often, we're making unconscious choices. And so the invitation here is to bring the unconscious conscious, make sure we're making conscious choice and taking conscious action in service of the vision that we're holding toward change.
You were you were just talking about this vision toward change. Is it harder, do you think, for women to make the change, or is it harder for men, or do you see about an equal ratio in your practice?
I'll say I'm not a big fan of categorizing in the binary like that. I will say that for sure I have worked with more women over time, but I've certainly worked with many men, and the men I've worked with, it's the same. It's the same.
Okay. Because a lot of women are taught, well, you have to behave a certain way, you have to be
Yes.
nice if you want to get things done. If you come across as overly assertive, they will say, well, why is she so assertive? And perhaps a man would not get that kind of treatment.
Whether they get that treatment or not that's different from how it feels on the inside. And like I said, yes, we could sort of stereotypically say are women are predetermined around people pleasing or peacekeeping or conflict avoiding, not rocking the boat. But what I'll say is that there are men who feel that same way, even if they're not perceived that way from the outside world.
Okay. And in your practice as a coach, how do you encourage people to surrender and release, basically letting go of what no longer serves them?
When I talk about surrender, the way that I work with it is that we're releasing that willful stronghold on needing anything or anyone to be any certain way. And so we're always looking at, again, what serves versus what sabotages. What do I need to eliminate or what do I need to integrate? So we're always looking at both. What do I need to remove and what do I need to add? It's not just what do I need to do or what do I need to bring in? We always have to be looking at what needs to go. And in terms of releasing and letting go, we're looking at beliefs, thought patterns, behaviors, We're looking at negative voices. We're looking at all the different things that we are keeping in place simply by the fact that we keep returning to them. So the releasing is actually a process of choice and willingness, not clinging to the same old story, letting a pattern interrupt come and letting a new story emerge.
But with so many people, a lot of these patterns were formed in childhood. Maybe people were brought up a certain way. You were going to think this way because you were a certain nationality, religion, race, whatever. So, how does one break down and peel away those layers like an onion?
Yeah, so that's why all of my work is rooted ultimately in shadow work, the foundation of shadow work. And there's three pillars that I tend to continue returning to. So one of them is our shadow beliefs, which are just simply put, our limiting beliefs. The shadow is the unconscious, coined by Carl Jung. So the way those beliefs get instilled is when we're very young, under the age of 10, we are experiencing our lives, but we aren't able to do it from an adult place. So we're doing it as a kid. And what happens is because we're not able to process and digest what's happening, we make everything mean something about ourselves. And so we're drawing these conclusions about ourselves based on our experiences as a child, in whatever context that looks like, our family of origin, whether it's culture, society, all of it. We're drawing conclusions, and these conclusions become these shadow beliefs that start running our lives, and we're not even aware of it. And these beliefs sound very simplistic, sound like I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable, I'm stupid, there must be something wrong with me, the world is not safe. All of these ultimately funnel into what I would call sort of the great collective shadow belief of I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of money. I'm not worthy of happiness. I'm not worthy of peace. I'm not worthy of attention, whatever it might be. And so once we begin to identify the belief that's running the show for us and how it's currently still impacting us all these years later, we can actually begin to look for past proof of this belief being proven untrue in any context. And then we can actually begin to shift the belief into something different from the adult conscious mind instead of the child unconscious mind. And we can essentially insert the new belief into our operating system and back that up by action. What is the action that you will take to cultivate this new belief so you don't continue to default to the old one?
Well, what is your definition of fear? Because it means different things to different people.
I haven't really spent any time thinking about my definition of fear. I suppose I might say my definition of fear has something to do with resistance and the stories we tell ourselves and the way we keep ourselves restricted and deprived of experience.
And a lot of that could go back to early childhood experiences.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that for some people, again, change is very hard. People resist, like you were just saying, people are in resistance. So, do you know if perhaps some of that is just because maybe the brain wants to keep us safe? And so, again, we tell ourselves all these stories.
Yeah, we tell ourselves all these stories. I mean, I will often say first that a belief is not a fact. A belief is simply a long-held idea about the way the world works and our role within it. And the only thing keeping our beliefs in place is the fact that we believe them. But what actually creates our suffering is not is the story that we're wrapping around the fact. So we have to be able to separate fact from fiction. We have to start looking at what is my relationship to what I believe. And how can I begin to shift into a belief that's going to support me instead of sabotage me?
Excellent. So, Nancy, is there anything else that you would like to add as you encourage people to let go of those limiting beliefs that are holding them back?
For me, it all comes down to choice, because what I believe is where we are right now, each one of us, we are here where we are in our lives as a result of the choices that we've made. And so if we don't do something different, if we don't make a different choice and take a different action, our future is going to arrive looking very much like our present or our past. So I look at choice as being our present moment choice really predicts our future. Our present moment choice is the crystal ball we all want to look into. If we want to know what our future is going to look like, if we want to really tap into the possibility of our future, we need to be paying close attention to conscious present moment choice.
So, what's next for you on your journey?
I am not entirely sure. I'm sure I'll write another book, but I don't know what that is yet. I am currently I really enjoy my work of coaching people and training and certifying coaches, and also working with businesses to help them coach their own material that they're proficient in, but may not know how to employ coaching skills with their clients. So I've been working with businesses, individuals, and aspiring coaches, and it's what I love to do.
And how long is your coaching program?
The coach training and certification program is about 7 months.
Okay, and you've seen some pretty good results with people, some astounding transformations.
Absolutely. I mean, we are currently in our 7th cohort of my training program, and I've certified over 200 coaches now in those years, and they're out doing their own thing, and that's amazing.
Excellent. So, any last words for the over 50 crowd who are transitioning?
It's funny you say that, because I spent 12 years as the event director at Hay House Publishing, founded by Louise Hay. And Louise founded the company when she was 60.
Wow.
And I always remember this. And I am 60 right now. So I'm 60. And I always think about this because it's never too late. 60 is, what do we want to say? 60 is the new 30. And I really think we have an opportunity at this point in our lives to really double down and lean into what makes us come alive and share that with the world.
And everybody has something to offer.
Everybody has something to offer.
Well, Nancy, I appreciate your time. So thank you
You're welcome.
very, very much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and
Thank you.
let's stay in touch.
You too. Thank you so much, Candace.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.